My dear student, today I am going to explain you entity relationship diagram. So what is entity relationship diagram? An ER, that means entity relations model, is a diagram that contains entities or item relationships among them and attributes of the entities and the relationships. Then an ER diagram or the ER entity diagram is a type of a flowchart that illustrates the entities such as people, objects, or maybe concepts or related to any others within the system. And if you can separately identify that object, that is an entity. So ER diagrams is the most often used to design or debug in relational database in the fields of the software engineering or the business information system or the education or the research system or wherever it is. Normally in these ER diagrams, entity are named in nouns and the relationships are named as verb. Now the notations of ER diagrams. There are many basic elements in the ER diagram, but only the three basics are available here. These are the entity, attributes, and relations. We will be having many other elements in the ER diagram, like weak entity, multivalued entity, relations entity, composite attributes, and key attributes, and composite keys, and derived attributes, coordination ratio, total participants. Like that, there are many components in the ER diagram. Now this is the just overall view of the ER diagram and how it has been related to the each entity. Now if we are talking about what is entity, entity is in which the things real world within the independently exist. Now if there is a system, in the system if there is an object that can be recognized or identified independently from others, that is entity. Now if you get a school system, the students will be an entity because it is independently we can separate from other objects, therefore student will be an entity. So an entity can be a person, place, event, or an object that can relevantly to a given in the system. Now the entity is represented in the diagram in the shapes like this. And the weak entity means that entity is available, and within the entity, if we are using an entity only, from that entity we can create another entity. If for example, if I put an order, so there is an entity called order. If you put an order only, you will get an order item, so that is weak entity. So order item will be existing if only the order is being replaced. So therefore weak entity means depends on the main entity, then the weak entity will come out. So that is called weak entity. Here written, a weak entity is an entity that depends on the existence of another entity. That is the main part of the weak entity. So weak entity is represented in like this. You will be seen in the screen. What is attribute? Attribute, each entity has attributes or particular properties of that describe the entity. So attributes are presented by the oval shape, and attributes means the information about the entity. For example, student is there and the student is an entity. With that student's name is an attribute, or we can say age is an attribute, or sometimes we can say telephone number of students will be attributes. So attribute is a description of the entity, right? So that entity, the attribute is represented in the ER diagram in an oval. and the multivalued attributes. So multivalued attributes is more if an attribute can have more than one value in it is called multivalued attributes, right? So a teacher can have two or three subjects. So teacher has the value of not only one subject, but there may be two subject or three subject that teacher can explain. So therefore we use the multivalued attribute in this case. And derived attribute. What is derived attributes? Derived attributes means in an entity there can be an attributes that come from the other attributes. For example, a circle entity can have attribute called radius. So if the radius is available, we can calculate the area of the circle. So this is a derived attributes. That means some qualities of a entity can create by using the other attributes. So that is what we call derived attributes. An attribute based on another attributes, that is the derived attributes, right? So the derived attributes is indicated an oval with the dotted or the broken line circle. Key attribute. What is key attributes? So key attributes is an attribute in an entity. So that is the main, we can say, for example, primary key. So that you will be seen here department entity. In the department entity, there is a name is underlined, that is means it's key attribute. Number underline, that means key attributes. Here EMP number, employee number. So it is dotted underline, that means it is not the key attributes, composite attributes. Composite means a part of a key attribute. And relationships. So when you put relationships here, relationships illustrates how the entity are shared information in the database structure. So the employee and project are the entity of this, and then those entities are sharing information among them. How they are going to share? Using the relationships. So here in this example, employee works on project. So this is the relationship showing here. And the composite attributes. For example, composite attributes and attributes that may be divided into smaller subjects, smaller parts of the present attributes. So, for example, address can have street address, city, state. So, address can have three parts of them. Then, street address also can have again three parts of them. So, these are called composite attributes. So this is the moral structure or the very basic example for the ER diagram. Now entity called ER diagram, and from the ER diagram there are many attributes you can see here. This is a normal basic structure of the ER diagram here. Now the ER model you can see here, ER model. Entity you have main entity and weak entity. Attributes, you may have key attributes, composite attributes, multivalued and derived attributes. Relationships, one to one, one to many, many to one, many to many. So these are the relationships that you are having in the data. Ternary relationship means uh, uh, simultaneous relationships among the instance of three entity types. And these are the basic entity and the weak addresses and all. So this is a summary of the lesson that I have explained you, and this is the very basic data schema database that I can be showing you.